Surprising to say the least, as you may have found out. And it's been definitely a clear path of choice by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Front office brand right now, as you take a look at everything, the Pittsburgh Steelers, as a matter of fact, they've come through on their mission to extend Ben Roethlisberger as he was entering the final year on his previous deal that he signed back in 2015. It was a 4-year extension that he signed, and he had like about 12 million left going into the final year of his deal, which was this year apparently. And right now, he just seems like he's going to be an additional $68 million richer, as reported by Adam Schefter. It includes a $37.5 million signing bonus and additional $30 million in injury guarantees per source. And when you look at it now, it's basically at 3 years at $80 million, 16.5. Well, if you look at it from the standpoint where like a 2-year extension and $68 million, basically he'll be getting like about $34 million per year, which puts him above Aaron Rodgers, about 30, who's making $33.5 million, and barely under Russell Wilson by $1 million, where he's making 35. Remember, on his $140-year million deal. A lot to get into right now. How good or bad does this look as far as like the Steelers franchise, considering what they did with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, controversial to say the least? Do you guys feel like that Ben Roethlisberger can make one more run at Super Bowl, especially with the talent? There's a lot of questions and what ifs to get into. We'll get into that momentarily. And plus, we also got the latest, too, as we are just a day away from the NFL draft taking place in Tennessee. It's an article written by Joe Ruther of Trib Live as we take a look. And once again, if you want to feel free to be a part of the show, you can dial up at 312-209-2232. Again, it's 312-209-2232. You can follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richie. You can also catch me streaming live on Instagram and YouTube Live. Instagram, you can find me, Meta Steel Nation. And then YouTube, look at my YouTube channel, Meta Steel Podcast. And like I said, and just think about it like this. 15 years ago today, Ben Roethlisberger, he's been drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Interesting story right there, how when you took a look at things and how they got to this point. And obviously, I want to keep us a little more on the positive side for right now. Let's start off. Well, if anyone wants to share any favorite Ben Roethlisberger memories, I mean, it is what it is. He's going to be around for the 2021 season. And Bobby Labrioli, he got a chance to talk to Art Rooney about this. And he definitely said that was definitely one of their high priorities. But they do realize they're entering uncharted water at this stage when you consider his age, that he turned 37 back in the beginning of March. So basically, he's going to be playing all the way through until he's 39 years old, basically. So he'll definitely, more than likely, be retiring before the age of 40. But one interesting note that I will take aside from that, too, I'm really still open to the fact that possibly, who's to say that this is necessarily Ben Roethlisberger's last go-round? It does, at the end of the day, it keeps him locked up as a Pittsburgh Steeler right now. When you take a look at things, and it's definitely, to say the least, been an interesting last few years. I'm not going to lie to you, when you take a look at it from this perspective, I will definitely say it's been interesting from where we kind of heard this stance before, when you look at him saying, like, honored to be in Pittsburgh. It's a pleasure to be back here. When you look at it, and I definitely want to finish, raising my family over here in this time. It sounds very familiar up until when you get into the first year of his extension in 2016. I'm referring back to when he made the comments back in 2015, when he signed his last extension for 4 years. And you remember 2016, that was a year where he briefly kind of got roughed up a little bit. He only missed one game following the game where he got hurt against Miami Dolphins. I think it was by Dominican Sue. And I remember they had Landry Jones in there against the Patriots. But I'm just saying, listen, everyone knew this was going to happen, where we may think so or not. And at the end of the day, I definitely feel this was, at the same time, I got to say the shoe kind of fits. I mean, at this point in time, they've made it clear that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be their leader. Yeah, a lot of people will be questioning. It's like, well, you also haven't delivered in over a decade. And when you also take a look at things considering, I understand that. And the thing is, when you really think about it, I mean, yeah, it has been over a decade, but I mean, at the same time, I guess in Kevin Colbert's mind, he's okay with the idea of him still being like the guy if like players got any questions, any way they could improve. And you know what? I got one little interesting take on this aside. When you consider things did not work out, let's say like Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown necessarily in the long term, even though they did extend him a few years ago, when you look at it. And yeah, I definitely feel like right now, at this point in time, I mean, I look at it this way from this stance, and this is where I'm getting to. Juju Smith-Schuster. Remember, Juju Smith-Schuster got drafted 2 years ago on day number 2 of the draft. And when you look at it, I mean, when you look at that moment in time, remember, Ben Roethlisberger was at the end of his first year of his new extension, following the 2016 season, a day after they lose to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, was contemplating his health and was possibly going to be looking into the idea of retiring. This is when he was on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh when you looked at it. And when you really took a look at things, I mean, it was definitely one of those things right there where he definitely kept the franchise in limbo. So when I'm getting back to like Juju Smith-Schuster, he was their second round pick back on Friday, number 62 overall. So what I'm trying to get to is this. I think the Steelers are thinking more from a standpoint too. It's like, hey, yes, we're without Antonio Brown, we're without Le'Veon Bell, but we're also paying attention to how Juju Smith-Schuster has performed. And the thing is, if like they didn't get this extension done with Ben Roethlisberger, I think they're looking at more so, do we have sturdy hands enough in a guy like, say, Josh Dobbs or arguably Mason Rudolph, who a lot more people are pointing to realistically, supposedly being that heir apparent to this franchise to succeed Ben Roethlisberger in that point. And I think that's one of the main striking factors from what I take from this is that, yeah, I definitely feel that part. It's just, it's kind of like when you have like a good car and you want to make sure it's being taken care of real good. You want to have someone driving this baby good for a little bit more. And I think Ben Roethlisberger is definitely the guy who they feel they could still drive him a little bit more. Yeah, he's 37, but I'll be honest, at the same time, this is kind of a little foolish at the same time, too, to necessarily think just because what Tom Brady and Drew Brees is doing, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Ben Roethlisberger can't do it. He had a career high of definitely over 5,000 yards plus passing. He did not take him to the playoffs. I think they're looking more so at taking Juju Smith-Schuster to the next level in his career. I just feel like they feel more comfortable in him versus a guy, like I said, guys like Josh Dobbs or Mason Rudolph. If you guys feel free, you disagree or anything, feel free to call me up at the number here. It is 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Prodigy Richie. And you can also, like I said, check me out on Instagram, Men of Steel Nation, and my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. And it's definitely exciting. But like I said, I also want to get back into the moments, too, with Ben Roethlisberger. I want to hear some of your favorite moments, controversial as it may be, and I know it's been a lot of unpopular decisions, but there's a lot of people who've been backing Ben Roethlisberger, and I want to hear from you guys real quickly. And like I said, it's been ironically 15 years ago on this day that they did draft him, courtesy of Dan Rooney, who actually felt like when they were like looking at Phillip Rivers and was one of their choices, but then the Giants and Chargers, they're both keyed in on Eli Manning. So let's not forget that. Ben Roethlisberger was supposed to be going to the New York Giants if, I believe, Eli Manning was not available. I remember they were able to make that trade between those two, and definitely there was a possibility where they thought that Ben Roethlisberger, his head coach at the time of Miami of Ohio, when he was playing, he thought he was going to be going to like the Cleveland Browns for a moment. They thought that was like a possibility when you look at it. But then you had like Pittsburgh available, and Dan Rooney, he was definitely more so thinking about having flashbacks, how they made a mistake of not drafting a guy like Dan Marino in the 1983 NFL draft when you look at things considered. And he did not like the idea of going so many years from without Terry Bradshaw, where they didn't have another quarterback, a game franchise quarterback when you look at it. And it was Terry Hopner, who was actually the head coach, by the way. He thought he was going to the Browns, and it did not happen. He was definitely a little frustrated. And he fought the Giants as well, where he was going to. But ended up working out that Dan Rooney, Kevin Colbert, and Bill Cowher agreed that, because they were also looking at an offensive tackle too. So they agreed that, you know what, we need to make this decision for the good of the franchise. They drafted him, and a couple days later, on April 26th, he was introduced at the press conference with Dan and Art Rooney, and the rest is history. As we all know, he went to 3 Super Bowls. Kirsty allowed them with trying good defenses, as everyone will definitely take a look at. I mean, no doubt about that. But, I mean, he did have one legitimate Super Bowl in his career where he was able to execute a game-winning drive. Like I said, even though it was, yes, a defense that was number one that year, but at the same time, he made up for his very first Super Bowl in Super Bowl 40 when he started off sloppy against the Seattle Seahawks. And look at what happened like his next go-around when you looked at things as far as where they were as a franchise. I mean, where he helped contribute to their 6th Super Bowl, even though San Antonio Holmes was the Super Bowl MVP in that one. In that year, in the Super Bowl, when you look at it, Ben Roethlisberger had in that game, he went 21 for 30 for 256 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, had 93.2 QB rating. But San Antonio Holmes, of course, stole the show with that game-winning drive, and he was definitely all around the guy on that team, and he was a lead receiver on both teams with 9 catches for 131 yards with a touchdown. But, of course, the one staying out being the game-winning grab to clinch their 6th Super Bowl, and no doubt about it. But you know what? Let's go on some Ben Roethlisberger memories real quickly. I mean, like I said, I know it's a little frustrating, and not everybody, it was probably not music to a lot of people's ears, but there are some people who are definitely in support of this, no doubt about it. I definitely have to say one of my favorite games when watching Ben Roethlisberger, I definitely have to say the back-to-back weeks where he threw for 6 touchdowns against the Colts and then against the Baltimore Ravens. I thought that was pretty freaking awesome right there in my estimation when you looked at it. I mean, in that game. I mean, more in particular with the Colts, he was definitely just firing on all cylinders. 522 yards, almost had a perfect QB rating in that game. He had 150.6 in that game when it was all said and done. And then he follows it up against the next game, Sunday night game, the same Sunday night game where they retired Mean Joe Green's number 75 jersey at halftime. Had the ceremony for him. Definitely, he went off again against the Baltimore Ravens in that game, and where Ben Roethlisberger in that contest, you saw him go 25-37 for 304 yards, 6 touchdowns, 136.3 QB rating. I gotta say that was definitely one of my favorite moments. That I had to put those as 2 and 3, but of course the number one moment for me will definitely be Super Bowl 43. I remember literally watching that. Definitely had tears in my eyes when the Cardinals went ahead and took that lead late in the game. When I was definitely very upset, crying, just watching how they had control of most of that game. If not for offensive holding in the end zone, and that definitely helped chip away into the lead and put the Cardinals in a set position where they were able to come back and get a touchdown to take the lead momentarily and everything. And at the same time, too, they had the lead for the moment. Like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they did end up winning that game in Super Bowl 43 with the final of that score being 27-23. And yeah, I mean, when you look at it, he definitely put a lot on the line in that one. He definitely put his best effort on there. I thought he should have been the Super Bowl MVP in that game. I mean, without a doubt. I was like a little disappointed. But at the same time, too, when you look at a guy like Santonio Holmes' performance, it was definitely, how could you not? Again, the number, if you want, feel free to dial in here. It's 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. You can also tweet me on Twitter. I am at Prodigy Richie. You can follow me right there, PRODIGYRICHEY. Also, let's continue to move along in here right now. But like I said, is considering this too. Also, like I said, back to the contract extension as noted earlier, Jeremy Fowler, like I said, he noted that if you do view this as a 2-year extension, it's pretty much he's right above Rodgers, but right underneath Wilson, where Ben's making $34 million. And with that being said, how do you guys feel about the new deal? What do you think this does for, like, what does this mean for the futures of guys like Joshua Dobbs or Mason Rudolph, especially Mason Rudolph, who a lot more people are pointing to be the next guy to take this team? Is he going to be around after the 2021 season? Is Ben Roethlisberger going to prove people wrong once again? Yeah, you were without the number one running back in the league, who's not just a running back, is just offensive, talented person, not just running, receiving, blocking. He's gone. And then, of course, your number one wide receiver, Antonio Brown. But at the same time, too, listen, I understand that. But at the same time, too, let's not forget what this man has done. Remember, Ben Roethlisberger and his career, if you ask me, the way I see it, and when you look at what he has done, I mean, think about it. When you look at a lot of years where he was performing, and like I said, because this first 4,000-yard season came in 2009 when they were defending the 6th Super Bowl. Other than that, before, I mean, he definitely was a guy right there who was getting sacked a lot, He was dealing with a bad offensive line earlier in his career. A lot of adversity he had to overcome. It helps, granted, they had definitely a good running game and a blocking receiver and tight end and Hines Ward, Heath Miller. But look at what he did after that. Even when he was, because remember one of the things people used to praise Ben on was his escapability in and out of that pocket. And I think that's where people just seem to have a little bit of a short memory, if you ask me. I mean, definitely people will definitely point a lot more to the turnovers. It's almost kind of like having Brett Favre still loom around in the franchise when you really look at it. I mean, which is kind of true. But I mean, at the same time, like I said, they're definitely paying attention to the fact that you have guys like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and all these other cats that are still doing well later in their careers. End quote. So, and that's how definitely I feel about it. I feel right now with him, with Ben, and when you got into say 2012, once you had Todd Haley, when Todd Haley came in, it took a work in progress. He was still getting sacked high up there, but it wasn't really until literally about 2015 is when you started to see the sacks die down significantly in that 3-year window period. And the least times he was ever sacked in his career, believe it or not, was 2016, where he got sacked 17 times. That was the least amount of times he went down to the ground. But like I said, look at the talent he's had to deal with. I mean, you look at Santonio Holmes, eventual Super Bowl MVP, like Kevin Colbert said in his press conference, Mike Tomlin, based on the fact it's they don't seem to do any mock drafts, but they do not seem to doubt themselves, and they seem to have enough confidence when they make their picks. They were eventual Super Bowl winners, Super Bowl MVP. You even had right there too, when you also think about it, you also have Mike Wallace for a short period span. Granted, that did not work out long term. It was only 4 years. Played out his rookie deal. Why that extension? They passed on him when he was definitely sitting out in training camp. And I think he reported late, but they decided to instead put their investment on Antonio Brown in 3 extensions. And you really think about it. I just feel like with Juju Smith-Schuster, again, keep Ben Roethlisberger around for that purpose, thinking that he'll be the guy that'll help take him to the next level. And then he's got Ben Roethlisberger to work with. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was definitely ecstatic to hear that Ben Roethlisberger's got his new deal and someone that he'll be able to work with for a long time. And that says a lot. I mean, maybe a lot more people definitely look at it as it's like you're following the same guy who was hypocritical of his teammates, especially Le'Veon Bell in recent memory. We called him out and just said, no, bro. It's just, you got to look at it this way. It takes a lot more of a team to do what we had to do here, what we had to build up. So that's my thoughts on that. And right there, I definitely feel like with Rudolph, depends. I mean, this is almost like a similar situation when you had a guy say Landry Jones, who was actually drafted in 2013 by the Steelers. When you looked at it, I mean, Landry Jones, he was in here when you looked at it. He was their 5th pick. That was pretty much about it. And then when you look at Mason Rudolph, remember, Mason Rudolph, he was drafted 3rd overall when your top 100 picks. So that was pretty decent. But again, it all depends I think I discussed where it's at. And I think it's still going to come down to like what Ben Roethlisberger said all along. It's going to depend on his health, more importantly. But more importantly than that, I think it's definitely going to be how he feels around with his teammates, the the controversy, the turmoil, whatever you want to spin it on. I definitely feel that. So let's move on right here. Let's also take a look at right now as we're winding down other trending topics. Bob Labriola of Steelers.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Bob Labriola. That's capital B, capital L. He has noted down that the Steelers, their recent signings in Steven Nelson and Dante Moncrief. Steven Nelson, who will be their left corner, he's going to be wearing number 22, while Moncrief, will be wearing number 11. Also, too, last thing before we get ready to close the show out, I was looking at a nice little article by Joe Rudder of Trib Live, and this is before I came in here. And the Steelers, with them saying their sights at their two inside linebackers available in the draft, with it, of course, being when you take a look at it, it'll be Devin White and Devin Bush right there. And according to ESPN analyst Mel Kiper Jr., everyone's favorite Steeler draft analyst, not really, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. But he was quoted saying, if Devin White is the 5th pick, I don't think Devin Bush can be far behind. I think he's one of the top 10 players in this draft. And I think that's so, because when you also look at it, too, like I said, with a lot of people projecting the Steelers to draft a guy more so with their first pick, it almost seems like Greedy Williams seems to be the guy more than likely they'll be walking away with in the first round for Thursday night to kick off when you look at things. Also, too, aside from that, when you look at it, you also have on here towards the end of this article, ESPN analyst Tom Shea also said that you want to take the linebacker more in the 3rd round range, according to Tom McShay. That's a sweet spot for linebackers this year. I think it's probably more than true. And one of the guys they're probably looking at, too, when you look at this draft as well, who's also out there that really stands out there, another inside linebacker, which would be Mack Wilson from Alabama. I mean, Mack Wilson, like I said, when you look at him overall in this draft, if he is available in the 3rd round, like I said, he in this year's draft, he is the 3rd rated inside linebacker. Just like I said, the only concern I have with him when you look at him, he definitely has a chance of becoming an NFL starter, but you also got to look at it, too, and I think where it makes sense where it could be a 3rd round is that none of these inside linebackers that have I seen have been listed to be become a Pro Bowl caliber player. More than likely, the highest grades you're seeing on these guys has become starters here. And I can definitely see that. I think that's why it's like you want to have your poker face on throughout this draft process as we look at it here. But yeah, I mean, definitely here. So yeah, that's about it right here for right now. But anyway, we're getting ready to call this thing to a wrap right now. And just a reminder for the NFL draft schedule, which kicks off tomorrow in Tennessee. We got the first round beginning at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then you got, for the first round, that's going to be the first round. Then, of course, Friday, rounds 2 through 3 will be 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And last but not least, rounds 4 through 7, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure to check that out. Definitely be a fun, interesting draft real quick here. Like I said, when you really look at it, and I'm definitely more excited. I've been really digging the draft for the last 5 years as a Steeler fan, getting to watch it and cover it and be more into it, more excited than anything as we look at it here. But as I always get ready to leave you here, we'll be rolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.
Okay, so the other side, right on the lunchroom? You know where the lunchroom is? Okay, you're at any computer out there by the lunchroom. But anyone that's open, have a seat.